Hello, everyone. Crap. I did the wrong thing. Hey, this is what happens when you do live podcasting. Sometimes things don't work right. So, hey, everyone, and welcome to the live recording for episode 46 of Nerd Alert News. I hiccuped it at the very beginning because what happened there? Full transparency, I forgot to hit the start recording button on my local machine. So, I missed a couple seconds of video, which I can pull off of YouTube later. It's not the end of the world because I really only needed it as a backup. But like I was saying, welcome everyone to episode 46 of Nerd Alert News. I almost called it a different show by accident. Not sure why that happened there. But, so, the question you have, if you stumbled upon this, what is this? Well, this is my solo podcast I do each week where I kind of talk about the cool, nerdy news I think I need to share with folks. It's called Nerd Alert News. And we've started dabbling with doing this on YouTube Live, showing the full recording process. So there's another screen you guys will see if you're watching live on YouTube right now, which shows you my outline / script I've put together with all the links, the Audacity window that's recording my audio, and then also me on camera, I guess, because I guess if it's a video podcast, I should probably be on camera in some way, shape, or form. So I guess on that note, it's probably time to start actually recording episode 46 of Nerd Alert News. Thank you for everyone who's watching the live recording of it. It's something I like dabbling with and playing with and kind of giving some folks an idea of how the process works for me. So let's get started recording the new episode. Hello everyone, I'm Chris Farrell and welcome to episode 46 of Nerd Alert News. It's hard to keep on top of all the nerdy news that floods the internet, but that's where this show comes in. I'm going to do all that hard work, and I'm going to find all that news you need to know and tell you what that is. So, you guys know it's San Diego Comic-Con this week. There's a bunch of news coming out of Comic-Con. I have some Comic-Con news and some non-Comic-Con news. So if you're someone who's like, oh, I don't care about Comic-Con, it's okay. I have stuff for you guys too. And if you're one of those guys that's like, yeah, Comic-Con, greatest thing ever, I have stuff for you guys as well. Don't worry, I've got you covered. I've got you covered this week on Nerd Alert News. So, that being said, why don't we just roll into the headlines? And for those watching the video cast, that is where post-show I will splice in a bump for the news of the week. I don't have a soundboard set up on this. I could, I just haven't done it yet. It's on the list. So let's start with one of those Comic-Con news stories that came up. I got this story courtesy of Geek Nation, where they heard some hubbub out at SDCC that Agent Carter might just get a season 3 after all. So how'd this work out? How'd this happen? Well, a few months back, we all know that Marvel and ABC canceled the critical darling Agent Carter. While I enjoyed the show, which I'm still behind on, sorry guys, it was a good show. It seems the ratings never really fleshed out enough to make renewing it viable. The ratings were not great in season 2. They just really weren't. It's the simple fact of the matter. They've also had the fact that cast members have moved on to other shows and signed other deals near the end of that. So there wasn't a lot of hope that anything could happen, despite the fan movements of like, oh, Netflix, pick up Agent Carter, or anything like that. But here is your spark of hope. While appearing on the Entertainment Weekly Brave New Warriors panel today at San Diego Comic-Con, Dominic Cooper, who played Howard Stark in the series, you might also recognize him as playing the title role in Preacher on AMC, teased there may be a third season after all due to the sizable fan demand following the cancellation. So if that's going to happen, here's a few things they have to consider though. Are they going to be able to bring back all the cast? Haley Atwell, the title character for Agent Carter, just signed on to do a brand new show for ABC. I believe it's called Conviction. She's the lead character. That's going to eat up a lot of time. Dominic Cooper, we all know, hey, he's doing great doing Preacher over on AMC. Everyone else has started teasing other projects they're involved in, so it could be very tough to bring everyone back. But the fact that the fan demand for this show has sparked renewal urges reminds me of things like Chuck and Community, where the shows got canceled until the fans banded together, and the fans doing that is what brought back that show in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know if it's too late for that to happen for Agent Carter. I hope it's not, but you never know. There is a chance we could get Agent Carter back, so if it's something you're interested in, you should probably tweet about it, go on social media about it. Make sure you are very vocal about the fact that you want more Agent Carter. That's how it's going to happen. You got to let people know, and then there is a chance. So the next story we have, this is not Comic-Con related, but I sort of found a way to tie it into Comic-Con at the very end. So the VHS is finally dead. This comes courtesy of MovieWeb.com. So a little background. It was only last year, and this astounds me, that Sony ceased production on Betamax video cassettes. Really? Only last year? I had absolutely no idea. I don't think I've seen a Betamax tape. I don't think I've ever seen a Betamax tape in person, in all honesty. And just a little background, I'm 31 years old, and I've never actually handled or used a Betamax tape that I can recall. Intriguing. So Sony stopped producing Betamax machines way back in 2002, but they just 9 months ago stopped producing the cassettes. Well, we all know VHS won the format war years ago between VHS and Betamax. They also won the longevity award over Betamax, as it was an additional 9 months after Betamax ended tape production. They're doing the same with the VHS machines and tapes. So the once iconic VCR is about to be no more as the final machines go into production this month, ending its 40-year run. Funai Electric, a Japanese consumer electronics company, are the last to manufacture the machine, and they have announced they will cease making them at the end of July. You have 8 days right now where they will continue to make more VHS machines. So if you really have to have a VHS, you've still got a chance. They have sold some of them here, branded under the Sanyo name, I believe, in the United States, if you're listening in North America. I know a lot of people have been picking up VCRs because they want to digitize all their home movies, pull them off a VHS tape, put them in a capture card on their PC or something like that. You still have a chance, and there's still VHS machines out there. We always see them at Goodwills and things like that, but no more new production. Why is this happening? Well, it's amidst declining sales, which should surprise no one, but it is also becoming incredibly difficult to obtain the parts to keep the machines on the production line. So, VHS, it's dead and gone, and if you think about it, I didn't really realize there was much of a market around VHS, other than, like I mentioned earlier, finding ways to pull your home videos off of a VHS onto a PC. But I was wrong, evidently, and this is where I have that San Diego Comic-Con tie-in. You guys might have seen Deadpool does all sorts of wacky antics for getting press out there about their flick. It's well done. It's pretty cool. Well, I guess at San Diego Comic-Con this week, they're selling VHS copies of the recent Deadpool movie signed by Ryan Reynolds. Far be it from me to realize there's actually a bit of a collector's market out there for these VHS collector's editions of current run movies, and Deadpool is just another one. So I had no idea, and I wonder how this impacts that niche little collector's market. My assumption is if the machines are going to stop being made, then the tapes will probably eventually stop being made, especially as people use them less and less. Regardless, I thought it was a cool story I wanted to share with you guys because I didn't even realize that VHS was still really used that much. I'll be honest. Does that make me sound like a terrible person or an elitist? It's a dead format. It's been dead for a while, and let's be honest, DVD is probably the next thing to die, and then after that, Blu-ray, because it seems everything's moving to a streaming model, which is a separate discussion for a separate time. So if you're watching the video version right now, this is where I take a brief pause because I've said before on this, and I'll say it again, solo podcasting, I get really thirsty during it. I'm not sure why. I really have no idea why. So another headline story. We've got to do it. There's all sorts of San Diego Comic-Con trailers that were released. I've got a breakdown or some background on a few of those big trailers you might have missed. So let's start with one of the biggest ones that I saw a ton of social media buzz on. Comic Book Resources is where I found the link to the trailer. You can find it on YouTube, any other place. The Walking Dead Season 7 trailer was unveiled at San Diego Comic-Con. And what I have to say was really cool about how they did this trailer, they also, AMC that is, sent it out on Facebook Live about the same time it was being unveiled at Comic-Con. So people were live stream commenting on the Facebook video, almost the exact same time people were seeing it in San Diego. That is really cool. I hope to see more companies doing things like that. We've seen cool things where companies drop the trailer on Netflix, YouTube, shortly after showing it at San Diego Comic-Con. But this attempt to try and sync up the live experience between people who aren't at the con and are at the con, I think that is really cool. So I want to give some kudos to AMC for putting out the trailer on Facebook Live like that. Really, really great idea. I wish other people would follow it, and maybe they will after the success of it. So let's talk about the trailer for Walking Dead Season 7. Obviously, there's going to be some spoilers for Season 6. So if you haven't seen Season 6, fast forward ahead, let's say about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. We all know Negan gets revealed at the end of Season 6 of The Walking Dead Everything had built up to the reveal of Negan, and I have said myself in other podcasts, it felt like kind of a letdown because there was all this buildup, and then we didn't actually get the payoff of who's going to get taken out by Lucille. Well, obviously that is going to happen to start season 7. The trailer gives absolutely no hints as to who it is that gets taken out by Lucille. You see Negan going through eeny, meeny, miny, mo, trying to figure out who he's going to kill. And then when he swings, you see no clue who it is. And then the rest of the time in the trailer, you don't see any of those characters that Negan has captured being shown off doing anything. It's a great way to kind of keep people in suspense and give an idea of the hell that is coming to Alexandria. But the best moment in this trailer has to be the reveal of Carrie Patton as King Ezekiel. Now, you might know Peyton. You might know him best for his voice acting. He was Cyborg on Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. He's been in all sorts of different voice acting roles. Incredibly talented voice actor. He's going to do great in the role as King Ezekiel. He looks just like King Ezekiel from the comics. If you've read the comics, you're familiar with the character. If not, Ezekiel is the leader of the community known as the Kingdom. He's often referred to as King Ezekiel, and what is probably his most badass trait, he has a pet tiger named Shiva. That pet tiger is shown off in the trailer, and it is just a super cool moment as you're like, whoa, that's awesome. I didn't think they'd actually put a tiger in, and they totally did it, and it totally worked, and I totally geeked out, and I just said totally a lot right there because I'm still geeking out about it. I've had my ups and downs with The Walking Dead. I think I'm heading back towards an up on my like for The Walking Dead because everything's coming together. It's going to be really good. Excuse me, guys. Sorry on the live video. I had to cough there for a second. Alrighty. Netflix and Marvel were also big players starting to show off their new programs at San Diego Comic-Con. Let's talk first about the Luke Cage trailer. Cinema Blend has it. YouTube, of course, has it. And if you want to see it for yourself and you don't want to go to YouTube and look it up yourself, go to bit.ly/nerdalert46. That'll take you directly to the show notes. You can find all the links to these trailers within the show notes themselves. So like I was saying, Cinema Blend had a little bit of a breakdown of the Luke Cage trailer. It looks really good. It's the next series we're going to be getting on Netflix, slated for a September 30th arrival on the streaming service. So 2 months, not bad. 2 months, we're close, guys. We're close, and it looks like it's going to be really good. This is going to be a little different than what we've seen from Jessica Jones and Daredevil, as this series is not set in Hell's Kitchen, but is set in Harlem. And rather than dealing with Irish and Japanese mobsters, Luke Cage is made up primarily of African-American characters, and therefore will focus on Cage's dealings with the more local gangs. Kind of related to what you've seen in some of the Luke Cage comics in the past, where he's been the street-level hero that's kind of had to deal with street-level violence and things like that. The trailer shows him taking down gangs in a variety of ways. Remember, Luke Cage is bulletproof and super strong, so he's walking through doorways, knocking down doors, breaking things out of walls. He is just a beast the way he has taken out folks in the trailer. It looks like it could be a lot of fun, and it gives you a great idea of how they'll continue to show his powers on screen. I think one of my favorite moments wasn't shown in the Luke Cage trailer itself, but in the Netflix sizzle reel they put together for all of their Marvel series. But there's a moment where a guy comes up to punch Luke Cage, and he doesn't even bat an eye, and you see the guy's fist hit Luke Cage in the face, and then you just see it kind of crumple and break from the force of hitting Luke Cage's impenetrable skin. Super cool moment. I have a lot of faith in what we're going to see in the Luke Cage series going forward. I'm on board, guys. Luke Cage was not the only trailer that Netflix and Marvel showed off, though. We got a teaser for the upcoming Iron Fist trailer, and really, that's all it was a teaser. It was maybe a minute and a half long. It helps to establish some of Danny Rand's backstory and establish how he might be saved and how he learns the power of the Iron Fist. And what was really cool moment is they have a retro iPod that's actually shown in there so that you know it's back in time when Danny's a kid, there's a car wreck of some kind, and he's saved. And on the ground, you see his retro iPod sitting there. I don't know why that stuck with me. It just was a cool moment to me. So like I was saying, we get our first look at Danny Rand. You get your first look at potentially what his powers are as you see a wall just kind of collapse around him, and presumably he's punched it with the power of the Iron Fist. It's a cool moment. I really have no idea where they're going to go with it, and let me be fully honest here. I'm not a huge Iron Fist fan. I don't know a ton about Iron Fist, but they showed me enough in this trailer that I'm intrigued, and I go, okay, I want to see what you're going to do next. And let's be honest, the Netflix Marvel series haven't let me down yet. So even if I didn't know much about it, I would be like, hey, it's a Marvel series. I have to watch it. We don't know when this show is going to release. It is filming right now, as far as I recall. So my guess to you guys would be early 2017, sometime before June 2017. Let's arbitrarily throw out there April 2017, just as a guess. Actually, it could be March 2017 because they did Daredevil in March 2016. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here. I don't have any legitimate idea on when that will be. I'm just throwing out guesses, and maybe I'll be right. Maybe I'll be wrong. Who knows? One last Netflix trailer that they did show off. They showed off a trailer for The Defenders. So again, we have no release date for this. Not at all yet. But we know that filming is likely to start in The Defenders later this year. And Kristen Ritter had done an interview with Digital Spy where she had seemed to indicate it will run back-to-back with the filming of Season 2 of Marvel's Jessica Jones. So probably late 2017, maybe early 2018, depending on when they're putting out Season 2 of Jessica Jones. We don't know much about it. All it did was tease the fact that these 4 characters we've introduced to Netflix as Marvel series, we're going to team them up and they're going to do something cool together. There's no new footage of anything. It's just a pretty cool reveal set to some music as they reveal the words defend on screen. The only thing other than that music you hear audio-wise is at the end, Stick has a voiceover, and it seems to indicate that the Hand might be involved as the big bad for Defenders. So, while Daredevil did not have a new trailer, it was in the sizzle reel they showed, but there was also some cool news. Executive producer Jeff Loeb revealed Thursday at the Comic-Con panel that we are getting a 3rd season. He says, if you like Daredevil, there's going to be even more Daredevil in Season 3. Season 3 is set to return in 2017 and see showrunners Doug Petrie and Marco Ramirez continue on with the drama. This is going to be a packed year, 2017, it's looking like. And Daredevil Season 3, I think we all can assume it was just a formality. We knew it was coming. Season 1 was awesome. I thought Season 2 was also very good. Not quite as good as Season 1. That's not in a bad way. It was just a different kind of tone, and they had to put a lot more characters into Season 2. The thing that's really interesting, though, about this Comic-Con panel is no reveal on when a Punisher series is coming. We know that Netflix still wants to move forward with it, and so does Marvel. So we'll see what happens. Punisher coming at some point in time. And I don't have this in the show notes, but it's some of the cool stuff I actually read coming out of San Diego Comic-Con. From the Hasbro toy lines, there's the Marvel Legends 6-inch figures. I guess they are doing some of the characters from the Marvel Netflix shows. Jessica Jones was in fact one of those characters. The Jessica Jones 6-inch figure looks awesome. I will be trying to pick that up when it comes out in stores, but my guess is that will be the short packaged figure, which really kind of bums me out a little bit because it looks really cool. We'll see what happens on that one, but it's cool. Jessica Jones gets a figure. Who would have thought 2 or 3 years ago that they'd be talking about a Jessica Jones figure in the Marvel Legends line? Not necessarily because Jessica Jones is a bad character, but because she wasn't on the radar as much as some of the other ones. Let's not get my words misconstrued there. We're going to be real careful on that one. So we have one last headline story before we get into the featured story. This was just cool, and I guess it sort of peripherally also does relate to Comic-Con, but it's not really a Comic-Con centric story. So if you're not one of those Comic-Con guys, it's okay. It's okay. It's a very, very light connection between the news and Comic-Con. NASA has revealed a new mission patch, and it is absolutely fantastic. I got this from io9.com. If you are watching the live video recording of this podcast, you can see it on screen right now what this mission patch is. And if you are not watching the live stream, like I said, go to bit.ly/nerdalert46. There is a picture of the mission patch embedded in there. But why is it so cool? The Center for the Advancement of Science and Space, also known as CASIS, announced Friday that Groot and Rocket the Raccoon will be featured on a mission patch that will represent all payloads that will head to the National Laboratory on the International Space Station. So if you haven't seen the patch, it is Groot with Rocket sitting on his shoulder, staring up into space and seeing the International Space Station. It is super cool. I want one of my own, but it's probably because I'm also a space nerd from my younger days. So how do we find out about this? Well, Cassis announced it. James Gunn, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy series now, also tweeted the announcement from San Diego Comic-Con. So let's get a little background on this patch. It was designed by Juan Doe, who has previously designed covers for Marvel. So why are they doing this? Well, Cassis Director of Operations and Educational Opportunities, Ken Shields, provided some background on just why they might be doing this. He says, a major mission for us here at Cassis is to find unique and innovative ways to bring notoriety to the ISS National Laboratory and the research that is being conducted on our orbiting laboratory. This is a great way to do it. People love Guardians of the Galaxy. People especially loved Groot and Rocket together on screen. So that's a cool way to do it. And Marvel and Disney, they're always seemingly willing to partner on things like this because it gets their property out there just as much as it gets NASA's property out there. And I'll tell you what right now, if they made a way so I could buy a copy of this mission patch for myself, I would totally get one, and I would toss it on my bag that I carry back and forth to work with some of my other geeky patches on there. I think it looks gorgeous. I think I want one, guys. That's what it comes down to. I really want one, so I'm going to be keeping my eyes open to see whether they're selling replicas or just copies of these mission patches on Marvel's site, or if NASA's selling them as a fundraiser for something. I think it'd be fantastic. If you have not seen it for yourself, I cannot encourage you any stronger. Pause the podcast right now, go and look at this patch yourself, and you'll come away and go, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It looks fantastic. And as a space nerd from early childhood, I love it all that much more. I really, really do, guys. So that is going to wrap up the headlines, but before I move into the featured story, each week I do like to remind folks that Nerd Alert News is part of the GonnaGeek Network. There is an astounding group of podcasts that have joined together to make up the network. We've got great content. You're going to love it, whatever your geek tastes are. I think we've got something for your tastes on the network. So head on over to GonnaGeekNetwork.com. You can see some of the great podcasts that are out there for you to listen to. I do like to highlight one show each week. This week, maybe it's slightly self-serving. I want to talk about a show that I'm actually on with my good friends SP and Neil. It's called The Starling Tribune, and we're in the off-season for Arrow. It is an Arrow fan podcast, but during this off-season, we have been talking about DC's Legends of Tomorrow, and this week we talk about the episode Marooned. The Starling Tribune reporters run down the Legends of Tomorrow episode Marooned, including praise of Victor Garb's performance, a cool space episode full of space battles and inter-team strife. Then stay tuned to hear all of your DC comic book and screen talk that affects Team Arrow and all of the other DC Comics CW television. There's a lot of things that affect that now because there's so much CW television. So if you want to check out the Starling Tribune, head on over to GonnaGeekNetwork.com. So now that I've shilled for the network and for myself, I guess inadvertently, let's get into the featured story this week. And again, I promise, this one is pure tech related. There is no Comic-Con mention at all. So if you are not a Comic-Con fan or you don't care about the news coming out of Comic-Con, you're totally safe. Totally safe here. This is, however, news about cell phone stuff, which people like to complain about. So Boy Genius Report had a news story that came out either late yesterday or early Friday or late Thursday night. I cannot recall the date exactly, but it came out that the iPhone 7 won't have a headphone jack, but Apple has a plan for that. So the rumor's been floating around forever that the new iPhones would probably drop the headphone jack in an effort to save space and make the phone even thinner. I guess the current thing with cell phones is the race to thinness, which I don't really care about, but I'll get into that here in a couple minutes. And if you're watching the video version, I'm doing some live editing right now. I don't really care so much about this race to thinness, but we'll get to that in just a second. Man, I've done pretty good lately not having to do edits during the live show, but that one, it had to be done because you could hear me going as my voice was going out. Again, I need the damn water so much more on a solo podcast. I'm not sure if it's just a nervous tick or what. We're just going to go with it. So according to a number of credible reports, Apple's next-gen smartphone will strip out the 3.5 millimeter... Well, we're going to delete all of that on the audio track, guys, because I flubbed the entire line. This is the kind of stuff you get to hear about, or see, I guess, when you watch the live video of Nerd Alert News. Hopefully it's entertaining and you're not going away going, oh, this guy's a moron, he keeps flubbing his lines. Although I do keep flubbing my lines. So according to a number of credible reports, Apple's next-gen smartphone will in fact strip out the traditional 3.5mm headphone jack. And Apple is not shy about discarding popular technologies to the curb, but the 3.5mm headphone jack, you guys have to realize, has been around for about 100 years. It's pretty reliable, it's pretty durable, and it's everywhere. And if you think about it, most of your personal electronic devices that can play music or audio of some kind, they all have a headphone jack on them. There's a couple notable exceptions, which we'll touch on here at the end, but it looks like they're going to rip it out. And like I said, it's not unheard of. Remember, they've dropped out FireWire before. They're the ones that dropped Flash out of their browser first, if I recall correctly. There was no Flash on the iPhone to begin with, and never was Flash. They moved to HTML5. So Apple has a history of dropping things and then pushing on to the next standard to get people interested. So Apple's rumored decision to scrap the tried and true headphone jack on the iPhone 7 has elicited no shortage of heated debates. There's a really good piece you guys can go and read on The Verge by Nilay Patel, where he states that removing the headphone jack was nothing short of user hostile. I tend to agree with him, and it's mostly because of just how predominant the headphone jack is in everything. Everyone has headphones. You can buy an El Cheapo pair of headphones if yours break for like $5, and they all have the 3.5mm headphone jack. And here's the other thing that kind of makes me feel weird about this potential initiative to remove the 3.5mm headphone jack from the iPhones. Remember, Apple a couple years back bought Beats. Beats is a headphone company. There's a lot of people that buy them. I think they're more fashion statements than they are good audio quality, in all honesty. I've heard better headphones. I honestly think the headphones I'm wearing now put out better sound than Beats, but that's neither here nor there. Apple owns them. They've continued to sell the Beats headphones. This is kind of a perfect opportunity for Apple, you see, because they own a headphone manufacturer. You're going to strip out the 3.5mm headphone jack. So why don't we, when the iPhone 7 drops, just release special edition versions of the Beats headphones that just have lightning connectors on them so that you can plug directly into your lightning port and listen to your audio that way. I would not be shocked to see this happen, and I understand they can do that. It's their company. It just feels weird to me, and it feels, maybe it's the wrong way to put it, it feels like they're taking out the headphone jack just to push headphone sales because they'll be the first on the market with the lightning headphones. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly critical or overly worrisome. I'm not sure. There's also a new research note from Deutsche Bank stating that Apple's upcoming iPhone 7 will ship with a Lightning to 3.5mm dongle, so you will be able to use your traditional headphones. So, here's where we've seen that lately. Motorola just did the Moto Z, and I wanted to make sure I bring this up so no one accused me of being biased against Apple. The Moto Z is a very thin phone they put out. Part of the reason the Moto Z can be so thin is that Motorola, which is now owned by Lenovo, not Google, let's make a distinction there, has removed the 3.5mm headphone jack and in fact bundled a USB-C to 3.5mm headphone jack dongle in with their phone. Okay, that's great. You make it so I can use my legacy hardware and I have a chance that I can wait over time until I find a good deal on USB-C headphones, but okay, here's my first quibble. It's not universal now. I can't take my headphones now and listen to my buddy's iPhone and then plug them back into my Android phone. No, I have to have a USB-C headphone, but then that doesn't work on the lightning port that my buddy has on his iPhone 7. 3.5mm headphone jacks, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere right now, and stripping it out, it's very tough to do. So it gives me a little bit of heartburn. These dongles are an attempt to kind of make you go, oh, see, we're not really taking away a capability from you. We're giving you something new and we're letting you prepare for the future. Or there's also the comment of, well, just listen on Bluetooth to your music then. Okay, I could listen on Bluetooth. Bluetooth headphones suck compared to plugged in headphones. The audio fidelity is nowhere near as good. And I also have a personal situation where in the place I work, we're not allowed to have Bluetooth on our phones. So I can't use Bluetooth headphones. I would have to use this dongle. And then the problem is if I'm using this dongle for either the Android phone or the Apple phone to listen to my audio, then I can't charge my phone at the same time because I'm using the plug used for charging to listen to audio. I don't feel good about this. This race to thinness is dumb. What is it going to do? It's going to give me a slightly thinner phone, but it's going to take away a capability that I've been using forever, which is the ability to plug in my headphones or plug in a set of speakers. I don't get it. Maybe it's just the race to be distinctive and say, hey, we were the first to make the thinnest cell phone on the market. who cares on the average consumer level? Is anyone really coming out and be like, haha, my cell phone's 0.2 millimeters thinner than yours because I don't have a headphone jack? I'd be like, well, then you don't have as many capabilities. You lost capabilities in this race to thinness. And I think that's my problem I have with both what Apple and Motorola are doing here. Well, Apple's planning on doing, I guess, is the way to do it. This is all based off of leaks. Nothing has been confirmed yet. I think it's a huge risk. And here's another reason why for Apple. By all reports, the iPhone 7 is not going to be a major enhancement. Maybe some slightly better processors put in them and maybe some more storage options. It doesn't sound like there's going to be that must-have new feature in the iPhone 7 to draw people to it. So they can look at it and go, okay, I get a little bit better of a processor, but I lose a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So that's a net sum loss, I would say, if I was a user. I would look at that and go, okay, I'm good with what I currently have. Yes, my processor is slightly older, but let's be honest, in the smartphone world anymore, you don't have to have the latest bleeding edge, most powerful processor ever to do 99.9% of what's out there. Yes, it future-proofs you a little bit longer, but I don't know. I have severe heartburn with dropping the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and maybe, like I said earlier, I'm just being super overreactionary or something like that, but I don't see it being good for the consumers. It's Apple. They're going to be able to do it. They're going to be able to pull it off because the Apple reality distortion field is going to come into play and everyone's going to eventually be like, oh, this was a great idea. Apple was forward thinking. I don't know if it really is that forward thinking or if it's just a race to thinness, like I said, or an ability to push more of their Beats headphones. And like I said, that could be me just doing a conspiracy theory. But I'm honestly very curious what you guys think on this topic. So if you have any comments on the rumored dropping of the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on the iPhone 7 and on what Motorola has done with the Moto Z and dropping the headphone jack, please send them my way. That can be emailed to me at nerdalertnews247@gmail.com. You can tweet to me at the Chris Farrell, or you can tweet directly to the show at NerdAlertShow. I would love to hear some other opinions. Make me feel like I'm not insane for having my reservations on this, guys. I'm trying very hard to not be like angry about it, because I'm not angry, but to lay out my concerns, and I hope they made sense there. I'm slightly impassioned on it, I guess. Excuse me, guys. And we are just about wrapping up the show. If you're watching on the video side of the house right now, it's pretty much just the closing time for the podcast. So looking at the time on Audacity as I'm recording this, I'm sure you guys are sitting there going, this is longer than normal. I apologize. I got into a little bit of a rant. I got a little impassioned on it. And when that happens, I talk a lot more. It's just the way it is. So I am going to start wrapping up the show right now. Like I've said before, the show notes are available online. Go to shownotes.nerdalertnews.com or just go to nerdalertnews.com and click on the show notes button. That will take you to a page that has the Google Drive folder embedded within it. You can find the show notes for this episode and all of the back catalog. Those show notes are important because they include links to all of the stories I've talked about. So if you want more details, you can go and read that story for yourself. And as we're wrapping up, I'd just like to ask, if you have a chance, head on over to iTunes. Leave me a 5-star review if you've got the time. I would love to see some more reviews on there, just so that iTunes starts showing episode or show ratings rather on the preview page. I've got some great reviews on there from Cajun Sean and Stargate Pioneer right now. I really do appreciate it. But seriously, more reviews. I love reviews. I'd love to hear feedback on what you guys like and don't like about the show and what you'd like to see done differently, or even some more suggestions on stories. Like I've said before, Neil, SP, Cajun Sean, I know you guys have all sent me stories before. I greatly appreciate it. I like to talk about the things that you guys out there in the audience want to hear about. Your feedback, it's greatly important for me helping to shape the show going forward. So please send it my way. But I think that's going to wrap up this latest installment of Nerd Alert News. But don't worry, I'll be back real soon with your next Nerd Alert. Bye, guys. And if you are on the YouTube live side of the house, that wraps up the recording for episode 46 of Nerd Alert News. Hopefully it was fun. I'm going to keep trying, like I said before, and I keep saying each week I realize, I'm going to try and keep doing these live recordings because I think they're fun. It adds a different dynamic to things, and honestly, I mess up a little less when I see the lights on my webcam up there. That means I'm live. I don't know what it is. It's probably all just in my head, but I don't screw up my script or my outline as much. Or if I do, I can power through it a little more. When it was just me recording in front of it, I tried to catch every little or things like where I would stutter through a word. It's not as conversational that way, so I really enjoy doing it this way, doing it live for the production side of the house and then putting out the edited, produced podcast later. So big thank you to anyone who has watched live for the Nerd Alert News episode 46. If you are watching this live, please don't forget the next live show from the GonnaGeek Network that you can watch is the official GonnaGeek.com podcast, because we are recording it Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern over at geeks.live. And then, well, no, I guess that's not the next show. Next show is actually my show, All Things Good and Nerdy, which is at 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow at geeks.live. Then at 1 p.m. you get the official GonnaGeek.com show because we had some scheduling conflicts. So that's at 1 p.m. at geeks.live. And then at 9 p.m. on Sunday, we have PopXcast recording. So there is 3 shows worth of awesome Gonna Geek content that you can catch tomorrow on Sunday. If you can't catch it live, don't worry. The edited, produced podcast will come out later. And you can also catch the entire back catalog on the Gonna Geek YouTube channel. We got all sorts of stuff on the Gonna Geek Network. We're always looking to expand and make more and have more fun. So one last thing I'll say, and then I will stop talking because I'm sure you guys are tired of it. If you have a geeky podcast and you've been looking for a home, the GonnaGeek Network is always recruiting. We're always looking for new shows to come and join us, to be part of our little twisted little family, because that's kind of what we are at this point. We've all become such good friends that we have our in-jokes and we make our own little digs at each other, and it's all fun and good. Go to GonnaGeek.com/join. You can find all of the directions, including the web form that has to be filled out to submit your podcast to join the GonnaGeek Network. Please, we're always looking for more folks. We need some fresh blood. GonnaGeek.com/join. That's the place to go. But I guess I went to the wrong transition. That is going to wrap things up for this live recording of Nerd Alert News. Like I said, thank you so much for everyone who did watch live or everyone who downloads the podcast at a later date. It is always a blast getting to reach out and talk to you guys. But I'm getting out of here, and I will see you guys later.